So the labia minora does not have hair. So relate that to the male structure that typically doesn't have hair follicle. And the labia majora does, unless you've had a Brazilian, and then it doesn't. I read the funniest story. Supposedly it was true.
Can you go back to the...
That's that question?
Oh, yeah, there.
So this woman had been waxing her bikini area. You know, you put hot wax and then rip it off. And she decided that she would do it while her kids were taking a nap. Her little kids. True story. So she heats up the wax and spreads it on her labia majora. And then she waits too long. And it's really, really, you know, it gets stiff and hard. It won't come off.
Sweet Jesus.
So she decides that she calls her best friend, who has no idea that she's laughing at her. So she decides, well, she'd heat it up again. She can hardly sit on the stove. So she decides to get in the bathtub of hot water, and now she's stuck to the bottom of the bathtub. And her friend is still just laughing at her. I think she finally used thyme and a whole bunch of Vaseline and tearing skin and yeah.
Lips is ruined.
Okay. So in this image then we have a mound of adipose tissue over the pubic bone that has hair follicles. Okay. That's called the mons pubis. That's to make the missionary position more comfortable. Then we have doesn't show it here, but the hair follicles on the labia majora. And then the inner thin labia minora, which comes together to form the prepuce of the glans clitoris. Between the two labia minora is the vestibule. Okay? We have the opening for the urethra. We have the opening for the vagina. Below that, but not in the vestibule, is the opening for the anal canal. Do you know what the name of the surgery is that trims back the labia minora?
Labiaplasty.
Yeah, labiaplasty. Done for a couple of different reasons. Childbirth can cause them to elongate, become what some people would consider discolored, okay, a darker purple. But some women are born with one side too long or both sides too long, and in intercourse it's painful because it gets grabbed and pulled into the vagina. And so it can be trimmed back and evened up or part of it removed. That's labiaplasty. Okay, so it's not tightening up the vagina for intercourse or anything like that. So the hair pattern is more realistic. The hair pattern in the female is called the escutcheon. I like that word in the male as well. All these little interesting facts we never knew. So here's the word. And the pattern can be like this, or the pattern can be like this, of hair follicles. Which one is male and which one is, well, they're both the same. How is it trick? So one is broad at the top and comes to an apex below, and one has the apex at the top and is broad below. Which one is male?
Female, the second one is male.
Yeah. So the broad across the top at the pubis comes down to a point towards the rectum. And the male is flipped, and the broad is at the base of the scrotum, and comes to a point at the shaft of the penis.
What if you have a lot more hair?
Well, this is a drawing, okay?
She's in between waxes.
There's the G spot, the periurethral glands.
Where is it?
Right here. So here's the bladder. Woman's on her back.
He's gonna go practice.
Lucky lady. Here's, unless it's a guy. The female. Here's the bladder and here's the urethra. The periurethral glands are anterior and posterior to the urethra. So when the fingers or penis are placed in the vagina and pressure is placed here, that's the G spot. Okay? Or massage. In the male, you'd have to get into the rectum or anal canal, and then the prostate would be circling the urethra around the bladder. Okay? Since most males don't have a vagina. Okay. Did you know some women have two vaginas? I had a patient who came in to give birth, And she had a vagina that didn't go anywhere. So between her actual vagina, through which the baby was going to be born, she had a vagina that just didn't go anywhere. There's no uterus. And then she had the rectal opening. So the doctor was joking about, well, there's a safe way to have sex, not get pregnant, with the other vagina. All right, so we're going to finish up by talking about the erectile tissue of the female so that we can use our modeling clay, all right, to do it for both. May I erase the board? Erase them all back?
So that is she's changing or whatever, it's just like the growth pattern of the hair. Special. We didn't know that.
Probably, yeah.
I just write it down.
I know.
So again,
Daughter.
we'll look at the pubic angle, but we're going to do it for the female rather than the male. And this is going to be a wide pubic angle since we're looking at the female. Or it's greater than 90 degrees.
Here you go. Yeah, okay.
So we call the erectile tissue of the female that's attached to the rami the same thing as we called it in the male, except it's the crus of the clitoris. Okay, it's the crus of the penis, and it's much smaller. Okay, so these two quote-unquote legs attached to the pubic ramus are forming the crus of the clitoris. Then the crus in the male develops into what two structures?
The corpus.
Nope. Corpus, body, the corpus cavernosa or corpora cavernosa. Oops, too big again. So if we were doing it from the side, it would be like that, okay? From a sagittal view. So we have the corpora cavernosa. If this is erectile tissue in the female, it's going to enlarge, all right, just like it does in the male. There's a relaxation of the arterioles. The question now is the bulb, all right? Remember the bulb of the penis? Well, we've got the vagina in the way. So the bulb in the female is split. And it's identified as the bulb of the vestibule. So it's going to be forming around the space that is the urethra and the vaginal opening. It's a bit larger in length than the male bulb of the penis. But it's also erectile tissue, so this is known as the bulb, and there are two of them since it's split. Bulb of the vestibule. Now what did the bulb of the penis become?
Spongiosum.
The corpus
Spongiosum.
spongiosum. That is very difficult, if nigh impossible, to find in the female. Okay? Sometimes you'll see a diagram where there's little pieces that might be in there, but if you try to dissect an adult female, you're not going to find a corpus spongiosum. It was there because we do have the glans clitoris, which develops from the corpus spongiosum. Okay? So at some time it was there, although you're not going to find it on any of our models and many of the diagrams. All right? So, bulb of the vestibule, crus of the clitoris, corpora cavernosa. That structure is sometimes you may see it called the body of the clitoris. Corpora means body, okay? So I want you to call it corpora of the clitoris, corpora cavernosa, but you might see it called body of the clitoris. So just translate it to the corpora cavernosa. So this is not Netter's diagram. Let's take a look at Netter's. Okay, so here, so you notice this is like a little more like the corpora cavernosa I drew. So here's the crus of the clitoris. Let me just turn the light down. Here's the crus of the clitoris. This would be the corpora cavernosa of the clitoris, and right here would be the glans clitoris. A lot of textbooks just call it the clitoris. It's not. It's only the tip of the clitoris. Clitoris is everything else as well, so that little tip is the glans clitoris, just like that is the glans penis. It's not the whole penis. Okay? Here's the bulb of the vestibule, and this is showing a little bit of corpora spongiosum, but usually it's not there. And down here at the base of the bulb is the greater vestibular gland, or the bulbourethral gland, which makes sense, the bulbal part at least. All right? So much smaller real estate being taken up there. Now, the labia minora form the prepuce of the clitoris, similar to the prepuce of the penis. And we have muscle over those tissues. So covering the bulb, we have two bulbospongiosus muscles that don't blend together because they're separated by the opening of the vagina. Covering the crus all the way down here, even though our crus is up here, we have the ischiocavernosus muscle, still innervated by the pudendal nerve. Okay? And then crossing through here, we have the same external urethral sphincter. In fact, I think you can see that one here, well, a few of those fibers.
Would you
Here.
call it the ischio?
Ischiocavernosus is going to be on this side, covering the lateral aspect, the crus of the clitoris. Okay? So a female circumcision. A female circumcision is more than just removal of the prepuce. The purpose is to keep the woman from having sex, or being interested at least in sex with other people, other men. And so it is removal of all of this tissue. Okay? It sometimes includes sewing the labia minora closed. So with ever menses, the threads have to be cut, and then when menses is over, they're re-sewn closed without anesthesia. Okay? I had a student about 15 years ago who was from, I think I might have told you, from Africa, Nigeria. And she moved to the States and married another Nigerian, but who had been born here, or at least raised here. And when she went to see her OBGYN, the doctor thought she'd done it to herself. And she's like, no, this is what my family does. Well, she had 3 daughters, and then she got divorced. And the day after we covered this in lecture, she came to see me and she said, I want to thank you. She said, when we got divorced, my husband said that one of the reasons he was divorcing me was because I couldn't have an orgasm. And I argued with him and told him he was wrong. Obviously I could. I had 3 kids. And she said, I had no idea what was meant by having an orgasm and what had been removed from me. She said, I called him up and apologized. And I said, for what? And she said, for arguing with him, because I didn't know what he meant, and when he was right. I couldn't. And so I don't know if it's still working, but her younger sisters were still at home back in Nigeria. She got her mom to promise not to have it done to them. So being here, I don't know if that was guaranteed or not. The bulb of the vestibule may be left intact, but certainly all of this tissue, okay, is removed. And last question. And we'll make our clay models. Think of the G spot. Yes. 5? So if you came in late from break, this said meso-oviduct, that was wrong, so you caught that, and it should be meso-ovarium. There's no such structure as a meso-oviduct.
This is quiz 3.
Unless it's meso-salping, so we don't call it that.
Quiz 3.
Okay, if you're done with the quiz, turn them in, and yes. And we'll go over the answers. I have them pulled out separately.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so collect them at the table, and then I'll come by the table and get them. And then I'm going to get some, as you look at models and stuff, I'm going to get some white butcher paper out to put on, thank you, to put on your tables, because clay is kind of difficult to clean off the table.
That normally you wouldn't see in models because it's a female. Oh, like Kevin knows that.
So,
I mean, this sponge you know, so I think
So what I'm saying is if you erase an answer, so let's say that you erase C, then.
Do you have any shinies?
No. Do you?
I got 2. Yeah. Finally. I got a Snubble by Davies Hall here. And then I got a Wingle during that festival or whatever last month it was. It's like, I know, me too. 1 in a million shot. It's like, I don't know how all these, they belong to groups on Facebook and stuff. And they're like, look at all my shinies. And I'm like, what?
I know, like this one group where like it's the people from all over the world that share their codes and stuff, so I joined it. Anyway, they, like this one group had like 17 English.
Shiny.
Last call for, okay.
I swear these people spoof.
I just Googled the do. In one of the groups, they like say that they do, and if you're not with it, then don't join the group. I'm like, I don't care. You tell me what to do. I'll come to Australia and Pokey.
I looked into it too, but I don't want to get blacklisted. Like, yeah.
But if you do that at Ingress, you will be kicked out.
Really?
Ingress is like a hardcore, it's a lifestyle. I'm telling you.
Somebody else talked to me about that.
I'm on the blue team now. I started off with the green team. I made it all the way to level 16. Hated the green team is bad, so we switched to the blue team. Now I'm a level 12. And out here, the blue team.
Okay. So, the answer that goes in this box is pregnenolone. Cholesterol is taken up by the mitochondria, enzymatically modified to pregnenolone, which is then sent to the smoothie R and a final conversion to testosterone. So the answer was D. Okay, lower motor neurons, which innervate the ischial cavernosus. So lower motor are voluntary neurons that you would have looked at in Bio 430. Their cell bodies are found in the anterior gray horn that would come out the ventral root. From the ventral root, it would go into the ventral ramus, and then it would go into the pudendal nerve and go to any of the skeletal muscles. So the answer would be ventral ramus, ventral root, and pudendal nerve. This is autonomic motor, and this is sensory. Dorsal nerve of the penis is sensory. Okay, that's the one that was green and came up from here from intercourse or masturbation or whatever. It went through the pudendal nerve, but it's sensory.
Just,
All right,
I'm like,
so
seems
parasympathetic
right.
nerves. This is what I do on the board with you.
Full guess.
Parasympathetic are also going to come out of the same region of the spinal cord. And they're going to go through the ventral root and ventral ramus and be found in the pelvic flanks. And then if they're going to the blood supply for erection, they synapse with the postganglionic neurons, which are the cavernous nerves. Again, dorsal nerves are sensory. Okay? So the answer would be 1 and 4. Okay, the round ligament of the uterus is all the above. Keeps the uterus tilted forward. It is part of the gubernaculum testis, and because of that, it passes through the deep inguinal ring.
Did I pick that?
Yes, we did.
I did.
Yeah.
I thought.
Okay, the peritoneum is everything but one. It's all of the mesenteries, so it's mesosalpinx, mesoovarium, mesometrium. Those are all double layers, and the peritoneum, where it's attached to the uterus, is known as the perimetrium.
Damn it.
Oh, on there it still say over the, on that one.
Oh, this one, that's right, it's my other copy, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's A,
I got
correct?
that wrong.
So 2, 3, 4, and 5, yes.
We did
Wrong,
see.
wrong.
No.
Which of the following vessels of the uterus are found within the endometrial layer? In the second picture I showed you, both radial and straight were, but that wasn't a combination here, so the answer is straight. Spiral arteries, arcuate arteries are in the myometrium, and spiral arteries are up there, those are in the endometrium as well. So the answer would be the cervical canal, part of the vagina. I said that about 10 times. Vaginal fornices. Well, I wrote the question, so I knew it was coming up. The scrotal sac of the male is homologous to the labia majora. I don't know quite how to phrase this since I have all these recordings going on. If you have access to a male, with permission, take a look at their scrotum. And you will be able to see that appearance of a seam where the two labia majora
She said if you
join together and form the scrotal sac. Okay?
ask her.
If the child is so young that they cannot give you permission and it's not your child, do something else. Okay? If you're changing the diaper on a 2-month-old baby and it's your own baby, feel free to take a look. Okay? I think I said that correctly. Raphe, R-A-P-H-E, yeah, it's like a raphe, it's the blending of those structures. Periurethral glands are homologous with the prostate gland, okay? All right, so you'll need to clear your desk for wherever you're doing this activity.